Welcome to Cups of Tea with Kim podcast, where we speak all things alignment, purpose, and practicalities. Hello and welcome back to podcast with Cups of Tea with Kim Stewart. And today I am super excited to have Christopher J. Power, Master Your Human Design, on the line with us. Christopher has agreed to be my very first interview on my podcast. So I'm very excited about that. I'm also really humbled because I've been following Christopher's work for probably about 8 years, and I'm not even going to try to explain his work. I'm going to let Christopher do that. But for me, the effect that Christopher's work has on me, it just reminds me that it's not all about just little old me. I do have a purpose. I have a mission. But there's so much more going on that my little mind lets me believe at times. So love the big picture perspective and love all the other elements that Christopher brings into the picture for me and for many others. Of course, Christopher's got over 40 years of experience in working in this way, and lots of study, and just really has amazing way of putting across the information. So I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to hand it over to you, Christopher. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I'd love it if you could share a bit about your work with the viewers, please.
Sure. Thank you, Kim. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Well, I was just listening to what you were saying, and the thing that jumped out at me was lots of study, right? And I was brought up in Melbourne, Australia. Very good Catholic family, went to school and did lots of study. Didn't like it that much. And once I'd got an honours degree in geology and geophysics, I headed for the hills and ended up in a place called Nimbin that no one had ever heard of, that 6 months later became the Woodstock of Australia, where the whole hippie movement, and part of the paradox of life is I've ended up in a place, because I'm locked down in Australia at the moment, I live in Thailand, that's got hair and the whole hippie movement behind me on the wall. So I turned up there, and 6 months later, the whole alternative scene showed up, and I was into surfing and exploring who I am and consciousness and, you know, being free. And then I discovered there's freedom, but if you want to be powerful, and my name is Power, you know, my surname, you need freedom and responsibility. You can't have all responsibility and no freedom. You get dictatorships. When you get freedom without responsibility, you get the tyranny of belief systems and having to think the same way. And we all agree and we're all one. And it's just, we're all different and we all are human. But that just, my background in science and then that, set a tone for my whole life, is to find out where is the value in a lot of the sciences that are old, otherwise known as numbers and astrology and the Enneagram and now human design, and alternative sciences. And what's the value there and how can they be applied to the real world? Like improving someone's golf swing, or their health, or their business, or their relationships. You know, now that's where you start taking on some really challenging stuff about human beings relating to each other really effectively while empowering each other at the same time. So I went deeply, I reinvented numerology, created a whole new form of it, a whole new approach to astrology. Have done 44 years of meditating pretty much every day. Because it enabled me to connect with the essence inside of me, not just meditate and think, but really feel the beauty of being alive and what that is, you know, and to experience that, because I'm always taking things from theory to substance, from imagination and image into practical application. That's my drive, is what to do with that. And I looked into metaphysics for 35 years with one of the greatest people, or what, not even a person, but one of the greatest sources of information on that, and was always applying it. How do you create beds with crystal grids in them that enable people to sleep better? You know, we actually did that in America for a couple of years. And then human design came along, and it was like waving a red rag at a bull. I just said, wow, it's, you know, it's got numbers, it's got astrology, but it's really about how you operate in the real world as a unique individual.
Mm-hmm.
And the real turning point in the world, when we talk about the old paradigm, the new paradigm, the old world, the new world, you know, I've spent 50 years with people studying it, getting glimpses of it, talking about it, poking it. But now what's happening in the world is we're becoming it. It's actually happening. Whether the theory was around or not, whether you know the theory, whether you've studied new alternative, it's happening. COVID's a great sign of that, but it's only a step along the way. And so I've always focused on how can you apply this to enjoy the gift of life that you've been given fully, without shame about being yourself, and bring what's great about you to the table. You want to just summarize it in a sentence? That's what my whole focus has been. And I've worked with people from as far out on the alternative side to as far out on the business side to the sporting side, everybody. And it's been about lately mastering your human design, not just studying it, talking about it, learning all the theory, but how does it work in your life? And just lately, in the last 5 months, I'm putting together with a friend of mine, a business associate of mine, a thing called the Personal Power Masterclass. And I'll talk about that later. But that is about taking everything from image, imagination, theory to substance, so that we really find out what works and then live that and bring what's really great about us to the table, not just theoretically, but on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I mean, there's so much that you said there, but what I really am picking up on is, I mean, I could pick up on quite a few things, but for now, what I really want to speak to is, you know, that really allowing us to shine as ourselves. And it's fascinating to me that we have allowed that not to happen in our lives. And I feel like the energies that I pick up on are, it's no longer okay to not be being yourself. Now is the time. Whatever your gifts are, and we all have them, now is the time. And there's no choice in it. We've got to go.
Well, we've made a fundamental choice to step off the edge.
Yeah.
We've been talking about it for 50 years, staring over the edge, sometimes rappelling down, you know, and getting involved. But now we've decided to step off and see, can we fly or not? I couldn't agree more. That was such a simple and beautiful summary of what I, you know, put in rather a fairly rich and complex way. But that's it. We've stepped off and it's time to fly. And we've got to shine as who we are.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not as easy as it sounds.
No. Because we come with our history and our history, right? That we were burned at the stake, we were, you know, quietened, and all of those things suppressed. And, you know, I don't know how this is for you, but for me, I've always looked at, you know, my logo is a yin yang heart. And I've gone through studying the goddess and looking at different modalities on my own quest to come to a place of what is true for me. And I really believe this time is about us standing together, the masculine and the feminine standing together and moving forward together, knowing, our qualities, that we actually enhance each other when we are working together. And of course, that's the masculine and feminine in all of us, as well as the external. So, you mentioned there about, we're stepping off to see if we can fly. The question that comes up for me then is, what do you see? Are we going to fly? What can we do to help ourselves within that? Can you help make some sense and ground some of that for us?
Well, yeah. Well, firstly, you need to look inside and realise you've got wings.
Yes.
Now, I'm talking metaphorically.
Yeah.
But true, it's like the grub becoming a butterfly metaphor. And when it does that, it actually goes into a cocoon and melts into nothing but mush. There is no more grub. It literally is just DNA soup.
Yep.
And then out of that emerges a whole new, it's not a better grub, it's a different thing altogether, called a butterfly. Now, we're doing that on a human level. So when you're stepping off, there's nothing there to convince you do have wings. Because, and I'm using that metaphor, as a grub, you can stand in front of the mirror, you can talk to people and do I have any? And they're going, what are you talking about? Right? You're finding it hard just to crawl along the ground. How could you possibly have wings? So there is a process of dissolving, melting down. It doesn't have to be a drama, but there has to be a letting go, a melting and looking in and discover that what is emerging is the wings that give you the ability to fly. Now, that's going to be a major change in your beliefs, because the beliefs of a grub are very different than the beliefs of a butterfly. Just, it's obvious. You don't have to go and analyse it. It's just they live in different realities, in different sets, as they say in set theory, which is a form of mathematics. And so there's that discovering, wow, there is something growing inside of me. And the next thing is to go, what sort of wings do I have? Now, that's the thing where going from we all believe the same thing, the new world is coming, we're all one. I believe in capitalism, I believe in socialism. It's like you either agree with me or you don't. All of that gets thrown out the window because the most important thing is customizing. Each one of us is utterly unique. Now, the most untapped resource in the world today is not energy. It's not nuclear energy, it's not electricity. They've even created a sun, an electromagnetic version of the sun in laboratories. It's actually happened in the last couple of years.
Wow.
That's going to give us unlimited access to energy.
Wow.
So technologically, we've got enough energy and food to feed the whole world, even if it goes to 9 billion. That's not the problem. Distribution is the problem. We've got to change our beliefs about that. But the most under-tapped resource in the world is the personal power of each human being. And everyone's going, well, they're just grubs, deplorables, ordinary people. Oh, I'm not anybody. Oh, I'm great. No, you're a great grub. Good, terrific, but you're still a grub. But there's this potential inside of you to become the butterfly. That's what my business partner calls, are you willing to live with the heart of a lion rather than live like a mouse? And it's not to put mice down, it's just to say, do you want to live in mediocrity crawling Or do you want to roar and let who you truly are be seen and bring that to the table as your creative contribution to life? When you said it's not just about me, you know, but it is about what you can bring to the table and letting that emerge, right? So we're in this stage of like, how do we know we've got wings? Well, let go, let yourself melt down a bit and see what starts to emerge out of the chaos. Right?
Right.
And that happens in the physical world with butterflies and children coming out of the womb and you name it. But we're now in that phase globally. And we've had 8,000 years of recorded history, and who knows how much before that. 8,000 years of recorded history where bottom line was survival. And if you look at history over the last couple of thousand years, what they did in Greece and Rome and China is basically what they're doing in Washington and Canberra and London right now, and China and you name it, right? It's the same thing.
Yep.
So we've got some fundamental beliefs and assumptions about when you strip it away, we've got to survive. And that's true.
Mm.
But we've got all the resources to survive if we learn to distribute it with the technology we've already invented.
Wow.
Right? So survival is now at a point where it can be handled. So the new world is based on a different thing. The old world is based on survival as the bottom line, because it's true. If you don't survive, you can't get to live your life or do anything else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if survival is handled, in other words, thank you for that lesson, I respect that. Now, same thing in relationships. I've got to survive. What is my partner going to think if they find out this? So I'll damp it down. But if that's handled, your partner sees you as who you are. You see them as who they are. You both accept the differences and turn them into assets. Then the bottom line is not, are we going to survive as a couple? The bottom line is, where could love take us?
Mm-hmm.
You know, then you've got the freedom and the ability to responsibility to love.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the change. Now, it's easy said, but we've got 8,000 years of history, memory, experience in our DNA, in our subconscious and our unconscious, which goes, yeah, but I've got to pay the rent.
Mm-hmm.
And you do.
Mm.
You know, there's no getting around it. I have to pay the rent. You know, you have to pay, well, you know, if you own your house, well, that's great. But you've still got to eat.
Yeah.
You've still got to breathe.
Yeah.
That's a given. So those things need to be respected and acknowledged. But once that's in place and everyone's going, yeah, but that's not the way human beings are. Yeah, according to history, according to when we were driven by emotions rather than emotionally aware, according to when survival was a basic fundamental belief. And we now have the resources not to let go of that belief and replace it with a better one. Now, to do that, we've got to make different choices. But anyone can make choices. Is that choice a good decision for you? That's the key. And that's where human design has its role, because it's all about making great decisions. So I've focused on two things: human design, so that people, when they make a choice, can check to see that's a good decision for them.
Yes.
And sometimes that takes 9 months of work to get people to a point where they're experiencing that, not theorizing about it. And the other thing is there's two steps. One is each one of us has to be personally empowered, hence the Personal Power Masterclass. And we all need to learn to work together, even though we're different, as you beautifully expressed. And we're on the verge of that and wondering why it feels so chaotic, because it's addressing such fundamental things. But when we do that, and as we do that, our world is going to change. into a world that will understand where we came from, but the people in that reality, including us, would go, this is beyond anything I ever dreamed of or imagined. But to people living there, it's going to be, yeah, but you set it up, but this is what's real. And we're going, that's why it's like, are we going to fly? Well, if we let go, relax, get in contact with our personal power, learn how to make great decisions, take our imagination and make it practical, take our practical experience of life, you know, from business to relationships and that, and bring that to life so that we're doing it from love rather than need, desperation. Then all of a sudden, all of this becomes possible. But it shakes us to our foundation because subconsciously, unconsciously, and even physically, it's a fundamental change. And we should all congratulate ourselves for having the guts. I was going to say another word, but for having the guts to actually turn up and go through this. Yeah. Like the grub goes, oh, I'm going to get... And we're doing it consciously, not instinctively. So we can run, we can go, forget it. No, sorry. Right? And we can go, and to feel the fear and then make a conscious choice and decision to step beyond that takes unbelievable humility.
Yeah.
Because no matter how much we know, we have to learn more. We have to become discoverers, learning.
Yeah.
And this is what, look, you haven't said much. I've spoken most of the time. But the little bit you say, Kim, when you say it, is so clean and simple. I haven't met you before, but I'm very, very impressed by the simple clarity that you bring to what you say. So I'll give you a chance to say something.
Wow, thank you. I really received that. That's beautiful. From what you've shared there, I feel like, you know, what you're talking about is there's an excitement in me as the curiosity of where are we going to go, you know, the potential that I can feel. And, you know, it's since, you know, we've gone into lockdown, you know, we've made on a personal level, my partner and I have made some really, you know, different decisions because we chose to make sure that we came out of this a newer, better version of ourselves. And I'm very excited about, you know, my business. I just woke up one morning at, you know, 4:30 in the morning, and I know when I'm woken at those sorts of times that that's not my body doing that. It's information coming in for me, and it was like I can no longer do business the way I've been doing business. And it was a 180-degree turn for me as to how I, you know, do my business now, because I feel this strong calling to be, you know, working with other people that are wanting to, you know, that they feel the calling to get their message out there. And what comes up for me is that, you know, I often speak with women particularly that will say, well, I'm not really sure what my purpose is. And of course, I've got some processes and things, but that I can, you know, guide them through. But what I'm really excited to hear from you is, you know, to connect with you. You know, you got some really fantastic tools to be able to really, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost, you know, really authentically give them evidence that this is their mission this time.
Got you.
And I think that that's really beautiful, and I'm excited to be able to share that with my audience as well, because, you know, we want to, when we're in alignment and when we're on the right path and in that flow state, it's just divine. It's, you know, all the concerns, it's not that they're not there, but we just don't give them as much attention. So I would love for everybody to be experiencing that this time round. So how can people work with you? What's happening at the moment that if somebody said, yes, Christopher, I want to work with you, how do they do that? What are you offering at the moment that people can get on board with?
Wow. For 35 years, I've done one-on-one consultations. That's available.
Okay,
I'm
great.
moving away from that, but I still do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll send you a link where they can just go and book a consultation.
Okay, great.
Okay. If you're in Australia, on the website it says $220 an hour. So if that scares you, run now. But it's in US dollars. So I'm going to correct that eventually.
Okay. That's like about $400 an hour Aussie.
300.
300. Okay.
It's just 300 Australian. But,
okay.
But, I get clients from Europe and Asia and...
Yeah. And it's not about the money, right? If it's right, it's right.
Hey, yes, it's true, because it's a small investment in getting to know how... See, the consultations are about telling you how you're customized and where your power lies and what you're designed to do and how you're designed to receive the support to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've been doing that for 35 years. And then about 5 years ago, I decided with human design, a consultation's a nice experience. It can reveal things to you, but it comes and goes and it very easily becomes a sweet point and you just go back to what you're doing. So I designed a thing called Master Design, and that's a 9-month program where I work with people once a week for 9 months. It's 39 sessions. And I use human design because a lot of people want to work with that, but I draw upon everything that I've done.
Yeah.
And it's all focused around what is happening for you in your life. I don't go in there and say, okay, today's lecture is going to be this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I go in, what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? And we work with real life issues, whether it's business, relationships, health. They want to know about human design. I teach them, I show them. Mm-hmm. But I always go, and this is how it works. What's going on in your life, and use that as a practical example.
Beautiful.
Now, for 5 years, that especially for the people who did that each week for 9 months, I had over 60% of those sign up for a second or even a third month. That it was doing it with that. People occasionally talked me into doing it twice a month or longer, and the results just dropped off.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like going, oh, can I be in the womb and just turn up twice a month? It's like, no, you've got to be in there the whole time, all the way through. Now, there's a link to that, and I'll give you that for Master Design. But then I met my friend Dan Silberberg in America. He's been in personal growth for 40 years with the best of the best in the world and been a major business developer, taken companies from 7 million to 100, $200 million companies. And he does that with people. And he and I have combined together, and it's powerful. Our goal is to be impact billionaires. And I don't mean just money. It's to impact 1 billion people by working with people who are influential, who are already doing great stuff, so that they influence through the ripple effect many, many, many people. Now, we're also looking at doing this for young adults and stuff like that. But the Personal Power Program, or Masterclass we call it, is about getting in touch with your power, that you are a creator, not a victim.
Mm-hmm.
And your unique power, that you have a unique gift to bring to the table that no one else can. We're then going to do programs beyond that on everything from the Arthurian legend as it applies to today's world, which is incredible, to nurturing yourself, dealing with softer. There's so much. We're going to create an academy beyond that. That's available. Master Design is available. Now, depending on when you get me, that's normally 6,400 for the 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
If you get me at the right time, I can often do it, because I'm only doing a few of them because our focus is so much. We're going to be doing 20, 25 people at a time in the masterclass. And again, the whole thing is, how can you work with me? You can work with me one-on-one, or you can get involved in a small group that we're working with, where you're not just working with me and Dan, you're working with all the other participants, debriefing. We're not just talking. We're not just sharing ideas and skills, which is the main thing, because you need authentic passion, but you also need the skills to be an authentic human being who's unique.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we're going to teach those, but a lot of it is we present them, then break down, debrief, then come back and share with a group. So the participants are as important as the presenters.
I love that.
And we're going to learn to work together. You know, I'm 71, Dan's 70. We're ready to be mentors, elders, but we're going to work with people who have influence to take them to a whole new level, no matter how successful. Yet our first person was 28, and she just decided, I need to change.
Mm-hmm.
And just bang, put the money down and said, that's it. She recognised that that's the type of person who's willing to open up and have that attitude of discovery. So you can work with me one-on-one. I mean, there's videos on YouTube, but I've learned more in the last 6 months than I've learned in the previous 30 years. So I'd rather talk to me now.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Rather than watch the videos, you know, although there's good stuff there. There really is. But there's that, and then there's the working together in groups where your business, your relationships, your life is the primary focus. And our job is to help you, is to support and empower you to take your thing, not to follow us, but to go out there, and because you interacted with us, everything changes in your life. And we get a bit of the credit and we get some income from that. But you take what you're gifted as to the table, to the world, and make a real difference. You become truly influential.
Wow.
So I'll look, if you're not sure what all that meant, I'll give you my email.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a couple of websites you can look at, or contact you, Kim.
Yep. And
have a chat. And what do you think about this guy, Kim? And, you know, if you refer them to us, we'll, you know, do a special deal or cut you in on it or whatever, you know.
That's great. I'm happy for people to find the right people to work with. And I love what you've shared there, because, you know, that to me, that model of lectures, for instance, it's not, we don't want to be spoken at anymore. We want to connect, and that's what this is all about. So, you know, when I see webinars and things that are clearly recordings and people are trying to make them look like they're live, I think we're not idiots. Just say it's a recording. It's okay that it's a recording. You know, like we want to interact. We're here. We're ready to have the conversation. And I just love the framework that you've shared there. So amazing. We'll make sure that all of those links are in the show notes. And I want to come back around to, you know, you mentioned that you've been meditating daily for 44 years. I've been meditating daily for over 20 years. And hence my question, how important is meditation to you in your life and in your personal growth?
Okay. If you really want to experience intimacy, meditate.
Mm-hmm.
You get intimate. Meditation's so important because you get intimate with yourself. Now, obviously, you get to hear your mind going on and on and on, but you also get to feel. And you go into the subconscious, you go into the unconscious, you can work with them in various forms of meditation where you use imagination. But beyond that, there's actually experiencing the essence of who you are. And if you don't know that, even though your mind will never work it out, will never put it in a box, but if you get to feel your presence, your essence, even if you don't understand it, it changes you fundamentally, because there you cannot deny that at the core of you is peace, is love. It's glorious, but it doesn't show off. I mean, it shows off in the reflections. Look at the world we live in, right? But it's so, look, meditation has changed my relationship with my life. I won't say it's changed my life because I'm still alive, but I would not be the person I am now without that, because I wouldn't know who I really am. And I wouldn't know how to get back to that, because we're all designed to wander off and lose it. And meditation is a matter of remembering who you are, reconnecting to who you are. Now, some people use it as a form of mind control, and they end up becoming control freaks. You know, meditation requires humility, surrender, opening up to something greater than who you think you are. But it's the easiest thing in the world to do. In fact, I spent 40 of those years trying to do it. I mean, seriously. And when I realized it was already there, right, and just started practicing letting go to it, and I don't mean in a theoretical way, because I had something specific to focus on that was beyond my mind, that, you know, how do you focus on something that's infinite? See, the biggest problem we have is we're not here as human beings to try and become spiritual. We already are spiritual beings. We're here to bring that into the world, to share that. But you need to remember that, not mentally, but by connecting back into it, surrendering into it, and letting that empower you. You know, you said about men and women, it's just one of my favorite sayings is, the role of the woman is to empower the man to do whatever he truly wants to do. And the role of the man is to support the woman fully in her creativity. Right? Now, that's profoundly deep, and it's a bit of a shake-up to the way a lot of people see things in the world, so I won't go into that now because of time. But look at meditation as the feminine, the yin, as you would call it, in you. That is there to empower you to do whatever you're designed to do, otherwise known as your life. And your job is to support that fully in its creativity. So meditation is the way to opening up, to allowing that divine in you to create through you and with you. So it is our way of, it is one of the most practical ways of relating to the divine. And it's also very good for the body.
Yeah.
So,
and it's delicious, right?
Yes.
It's delicious.
I love the way I can talk for 5 minutes about something and you go, you mean it's delicious? And I go, oh God, why didn't I say that?
Well, it's because of what you said that allowed me to say that. So that's
okay, thanks.
beautiful.
Thanks. Thank you.
It's so great. Look, Christopher, I feel like we could talk forever. There's so much there that just keeps sparking different pieces for me. So I really hope that we do, get to keep connecting in some way. I'm very curious about this this group way that you're talking, and I'm sure that's the email that I received this morning. So on a personal note, I'm really, really grateful for your time. And is there anything that you would like to share before we finish up?
Just my contact details, because you know what you said. Hey, Kim, welcome to contact me anytime.
Okay, fantastic.
So you're a projector in human design, so I'm inviting you.
Thank you.
Okay, so please, for anyone watching this, if anything sparked, connect with me, email, join a program, have a consultation. You make that decision, because it's you stepping out that makes the difference, right? My job is, once you've decided to commit to that, is to put my energy into what you want to make happen, so that I add more power, more energy to it. I can work with you so that what you want to manifest really does. And maybe in the process, refine what it is you want to manifest, so it really is what you want to manifest. It's coming from your heart, your essence, not necessarily from ways you've been taught to do it. Now, one last thing, all the people who did all those seminars and things in the past, they laid a foundation, thanks. But now it has to be personal, and it needs to be customized, and it needs to be shared and done, as you said, in groups or communities or whatever. Because there's that saying in Australia with COVID, we're all in this together. Well, yeah, we could be all in the Titanic together and go down, right? Or we could get into a lifeboat, paddle away and go, well, that was interesting, and get to live a whole new life. And we are all in this together, but we've got to turn up as who we are, so we can create together what we're truly capable of creating.
Amen to that. That's beautiful. Well, again, Christopher, thank you so much. It's been beautiful to connect with you. And as I say, I'll put all of the contacts in the show notes. And until we meet again, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. And it's absolutely been a delight to meet you and share time with you, Kim.
Thank you.
I look forward to doing it again.
Beautiful.
Bye.